What's going on, guys? Apathettic here with all your tips, recommendations, and everything in between. And today I'm going to walk you through step by step what is the best Arc Hunter build in 2020. So we're covering everything from the subclass to use, the weapon loadouts you should focus on, and the stats and armor you should strive for on your hunter. So if you're someone who is looking for a top tier hunter subclass but can't get behind spectral blades, then this video is for you. The last thing I'll add is a majority of my footage is captured during my streams on Twitch, so make sure you drop a follow using the link below if you want to see more gameplay like this live. With that, let's get into it. Before we jump into all the benefits of the subclass, it's important to cover the basics, which entails the selection of our jump, grenade, and class ability. After all, if we don't have our basics solidified, we will be at a disadvantage when trying to utilize the other perks of the subclass. Starting with our class ability, the option we want to select here is Gambler's Dodge. Dodge to perform a death tumble, avoiding enemy attacks. Dodging near enemies fully recharges your melee ability. When it comes to the benefits of hunter movement, a huge part of that is our dodge, and Gambler's Dodge in PvP is leagues above Marksman Dodge because of what it does for our survivability. This dodge is incredibly useful for making your enemies miss an engagement, thus limiting the amount of damage we take when dodging. By taking less damage while dodging, it creates a lot more flexibility in terms of how we can approach an engagement when coming out of our dodge. It creates the option of engaging right away if we take little to no damage, or allows us to get away with more of our health intact and therefore less time to recover before our next engagement. Now, this is not to say Marksman Dodge doesn't have its uses, but when we talk about the exotic we will be using with this subclass, you'll see why Marksman Dodge could become redundant. Moving on to our grenade of choice, it's going to be the Arc Bolt Grenade, a grenade that chains bolts of lightning to nearby enemies. The Arc Bolt Grenade has been around since Destiny 1, and it is a tried and true grenade when it comes to engaging our enemies, and that's for a couple of reasons. The first being is its high damage output when you land a hit with this grenade. It does roughly 91 damage when it tags your enemy, and has the ability to tag multiple enemies who may be near each other. Now, this grenade does have the potential like any grenade to kill your enemies, but I found it functions much more as a play starter. What this means is it's a great way to start an engagement, especially when you have a good idea of when an enemy is going to be pushing around a corner. It allows you to tag an unsuspecting enemy, and with its high damage output, put you at a significant advantage in the engagement. It's also equally good at finishing engagement against other classes. In scenarios where a Warlock or Titan break away and pops a rift or shield, throwing a well-timed arc grenade is an easy way to make sure they don't have any time to recover their health. An honorable mention in this section is the skip grenade, and while it is a good option and can be very frustrating to play against because of its tracking, I found with the lower damage output and how the skips impact individually that enemies can often survive these nades by running or popping something like a rift. Lastly, to tie in with our dodge for some amazing overall movement, we have our jump, and our selection here is going to be strafe jump. While airborne, jump a second time with strong directional control. The strafe jump really stands out for Hunter because it allows us to do a couple of things better than the other options here. First, it allows us better momentum when jumping straight forward, allowing us to get around the map a little faster. Secondly, and most importantly, it allows us to control that momentum and easily change directions mid-jump, throwing off your opponents in what they thought your trajectory would be. This translates to more unpredictable movement, faster movement to maneuver a map when needed, and a built-in measure to keep us from jumping too much or too high, which can be a downfall of playing Hunter. Talking about our subclass of choice for PvP, and that's going to be Bottom Tree Arc Strider. This is probably one of the best subclass options for hunters in PvP, and that's because of all the enhancements this subclass brings to our neutral game. Starting with focused breathing, sprinting recharges your dodge ability, increase maximum sprint speed. In our previous section, we talked a little bit about how important our dodge was and the benefit of strafe jump allowing us to get around the map faster. With focused breathing, we are directly enhancing both of those things. First, with how fast we are able to get our dodge back, which is a huge benefit because it's going to limit the amount of downtime between our dodges and increase our chances of having our dodge for our next engagement. It also reduces the amount of focus stat-wise we need to have on our mobility, even if only by a little. Next, focused breathing gives us passive boost to our maximum sprint speed, allowing us to get to different areas of the map quicker. This will also help us in engagements where we need to close the gap quicker on our enemies, and even the small boost that's provided will help with that. Lastly, since we won't be using stompies with this build, focused breathing becomes even more useful since we won't be able to rely on the crazy sprint speed stompies can provide, but more on that later. Next up, we have one of my favorite subclass perks for Hunter, and that's Lightning Reflexes. You are harder to kill while dodging. What this passive perk does is when dodging provides a 32% damage reduction in PvP, which is no small amount. This perk ties back into the reason we chose Gambler's Dodge over Marksman Dodge in the first place: survivability. There have been so many times when facing an enemy hunter that they will just barely survive an engagement because of this perk, as you can simply pop your dodge anytime you're taking a little too much damage. This perk is especially useful in more sweaty environments where shotguns or thorn will be involved. What this perk allows us to do is slide into an engagement, shade as someone shoots their shotgun shot or as we are burning with thorn, reduce the damage, then either run away or return fire with our primary or special weapon. As someone who mains Warlock, it's very frustrating going against a player who can do this well, especially since the dodge already throws off your aim assist, then you throw in the damage reduction, and this is one potent combination that makes a class that's already elusive and difficult to kill even more difficult to face. Moving on to our next perk, which continues the trend of enhancing our neutral game, is Combat Meditation. While critically wounded, melee and grenades recharge drastically faster. Something to note with this perk is it lasts as long as you're critically wounded, so those of us who run higher recovery will notice this perk a little less, but either way it's still a nice benefit to have. Anytime you can get back your grenade and melee charges quicker, that's going to be a plus. This perk also is something that procs more often than you would expect on Hunter. Since we have our dodge and lightning reflexes, it allows us to play with fire a little more often than other classes. This results in Combat Meditation being procced quite often, which will make the downtime on our abilities even lower. This perk is a big reason why on this subclass it'll seem like you always have your abilities charged. Lastly, we have Disorienting Blow. Strike an enemy with this melee ability to disorient the target and nearby enemies. This melee ability has a very strong disorienting effect on your opponents, where it essentially disorients a player's vision and slows down their ability to move and aim their weapon. On top of that, this melee ability does 100 damage, making a great melee for cleaning up opponents. But the real highlight is going to be the slowing that is caused by this ability. It's great for close quarter engagements because you melee your opponent, disorient them, then jump back and either quickly melee again for an easy kill or finish them off with your weapon of choice. The disorienting effect of this ability allows us to turn the tide of a fight because of how it slows down a player's aim and ability to track us, and almost guarantees we will win any fight where we land this attack. With Disorienting Blow, it really tops off how good the neutral game on Bottom Tree Arc Strider is. Getting into our weapons and loadout that pairs best with this subclass, I normally separate this into two parts, but right now the meta on console and PC is closer than it's ever been, but if there's anything to note on either platform, I'll be sure to mention it. Now the thing that's awesome about this subclass is that it tailors really well to any kind of loadout. For special weapons, you can rock a sniper, and because of Hunter's ability to dodge in combination with lightning reflexes, it allows you to play a little bit more aggressive and really take advantage of that damage reduction in dodge if you need to bail out. Same things apply for my shotgun mains out there. The ability to get in and out of engagements on this subclass is next level, and with the increased sprint speed, you have some nice gap closing potential. And with Disorienting Blow, you have a leg up in those close quarter engagements with the ability to slow your enemy's movement and aim, or finish them with a powerful ability. In terms of your kinetic or energy weapons on console and PC, 600 RPM auto rifles like Gnawing Hunger and Summoner or Suros Regime are going to be king for Season of Arrivals. For PC, I'll also add you have the option of using 150 RPM hand cannons if autos aren't really your style, so think of weapons like Dire Promise, Spare Rations if you have one, and Not Forgotten for my friends on console. Next up, we are talking about the armor and stats we are focusing on to maximize our efficiency on Bottom Tree Arc Strider. For armor we are looking for, it's important to look for armor that has a base stat roll of at least 60, so while focusing on certain stats, we can still optimize the stats we weren't focusing on. Now, stats that I focus on for Hunter, and this will be true for almost any Hunter subclass, and that's going to be mobility and recovery first, with intellect as a close third. For recovery, we need to get as close to tier 10 as possible, as recovery in my opinion is the most influential stat in PvP. It influences our ability to survive longer engagements and reduce our downtime in between engagements. On a more of a personal note, when I finally focused on getting my recovery to tier 10, it really opened up my ability to be efficient in PvP. If you're skeptical, try it before you knock it. For mobility, we want to get as close to tier 10 as possible, but with exotics like Dragon Shadow, which give an invisible boost of plus 50 mobility, you don't need to always put everything into it depending on what exotics and armor mods you are running. Speaking of armor mods, making sure you're running enhanced targeting and unflinching mods for whatever primary or special weapon of your choice is key here. Also ensuring that we are using double scavengers for our special ammo to optimize how much special ammo we get on pickup is a game changer. Lastly, adding in mods like remote connection or pump action, which increase our super energy gained on kills with snipers or shotguns, is the icing on the cake to get the most out of the weapon loadout that best fits your playstyle. When it comes to exotics, Hunter has no shortage of options to choose from, but there was one exotic that really stood out with this build. That exotic was Dragon Shadow with the exotic perk Wraith Metal Mail. Dodging reloads all weapons and increases both movement and weapon handling speed for a brief time. This exotic, when paired with Bottom Tree Arc Strider, takes an already great neutral game and takes it to new heights. Dragon Shadow allows us to string together multiple engagements and go on long sprees with its ability to increase our reload speed and boost our mobility after dodging, ensuring that without fail, we will always have our dodge ready to go. And speaking of having our dodge ready to go, a big part of that with Dragon Shadow is it gives you invisible plus 50 boost to your mobility, which I mentioned earlier, which really frees up the stats we need to invest in, but again is going to make it so that we always have our dodge ready and available. The feelings of getting 2 kills, dodging and reloading your weapons, then continuing to empty your clip into the next enemy creates a very fluid way to play the game. Something else that should be mentioned is that when you dodge, you really feel that boost to your movement speed. When sliding with Wraith Metal Mail active, it feels like you're on ice skates. Sliding in and out of engagements is smooth, and the handling buff only makes things feel even cleaner as you engage your enemies. This exotic basically removes all pain points you could have with basic combat. Slow ADS, slow reload, reloading at all, short slide distance, all addressed in one dodge, making this exotic my new favorite exotic over Stompies. Stompies are amazing, but once I got used to Dragon Shadow, it really became apparent once I took it off how much it impacts your neutral game. And if you're looking to perfect your builds on Hunter and Warlock, make sure you check out the videos on the screen to get all your characters dialed in and take your gameplay to the next level. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure you like, share, and subscribe as it's a free way to support me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.